All right, let's talk about it. In this explainer, we're pulling back the curtain on something that's woven itself into the very fabric of our daily lives. We're going to look at the hidden mechanics that make social media so hard to put down. You know that feeling, right? You pick up your phone to check just one thing, and the next time you look up, an hour has completely vanished into your feed. Well, it turns out that's not a personal failure, it's not a lack of willpower, it's actually all part of the plan.
So, to really get this, we have to start with what's going on inside our own heads. We're going to talk about a really powerful brain chemical called dopamine and how these apps have figured out how to hijack it by design.
Okay, so this might sound a little technical, but it's the secret sauce behind it all, pioneered by psychologist B.F. Skinner. Basically, when a reward is unpredictable, sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't, the hunt for that reward becomes almost compulsive. You just keep pulling the lever, because you know a prize could come, you just have no idea when.
And this quote just nails it. It perfectly illustrates the point. Every single time you pull down to refresh your feed, you are, for all intents and purposes, pulling the lever on a slot machine. What's going to pop up? A funny video, a boring ad, a message from a friend? That powerful uncertainty is exactly what keeps you hooked.
Right, and every little piece of validation, every share, every positive comment, it's like a tiny little prize. Each one triggers a small hit of dopamine, and your brain quickly learns, hey, scrolling and posting feels good. This creates this really powerful feedback loop that has you coming back for more and more.
Wow, that's a pretty intense way to put it, but it really highlights how immediate this whole process is. Unlike waiting for a promotion or a good grade, that digital dopamine hit is instant. It's delivered right into the palm of your hand, which makes the whole cycle incredibly potent and just so hard to resist.
So, and this is the part you really have to understand, none of this is an accident. Not a single bit of it. The addictive quality of these platforms is the result of thousands of hours of careful, deliberate engineering. These features are built specifically to tap into our brain chemistry and keep us on their apps for as long as possible.
Now, check this out, because the contrast here is fascinating. Think about it. A book has a final page. A movie has credits. These things have natural stopping cues that give our brain a clear signal that it's time to be done. But infinite scroll, it was designed specifically to eliminate that. There is no end. And with no end, there's no natural cue for your brain to say, okay, time to move on.
And it's not just the scroll. It's this whole suite of features all working together. Autoplay videos grab your attention before you even decide to give it. Recommendation algorithms, well, they get scarily good at feeding you exactly what will keep you glued to the screen. And then you have notifications, creating that constant buzz of urgency, that fear of missing out, or FOMO.
Now, if you had any doubt that this was all intentional, just listen to this. These are actual internal emails from Meta that came out in a major trial. You've got employees literally calling their own product a drug. When the creators are calling themselves pushers, that tells you everything you need to know. This is a known feature, not a bug.
Okay, so we've seen how it works, but what's the actual fallout? What does this system do to us? Because this isn't just harmless fun. It has a real, measurable impact on our mental health.
This number, it's staggering. A big meta-analysis shows what's called a dose-response effect. Simply put, the more time you spend on these platforms, the higher your risk. Every extra hour you scroll per day is linked to a pretty significant jump in the chances of developing depression.
So there's this classic psychology theory from way back in 1954, but man, has it been put on steroids in the 21st century. We're all wired to compare ourselves to others. It's how we figure out where we fit in. But what happens when you're no longer just comparing yourself to your neighbors, but to the perfectly polished, filtered highlight reels of millions of people?
And that's the trap. You're almost always comparing up to people who seem richer, happier, more attractive. For a developing brain, especially a teenager's, this can be absolutely corrosive. It can create this vicious cycle of feeling inadequate that just chips away at self-worth over time. And look, this impact doesn't just stop with us as individuals. When you plug billions, literally billions of people into this system, the effects start to ripple out. They start to fundamentally change our relationships, our work, and even our society itself. Let's just pause on that number for a second. 5 billion users. That is just an unprecedented scale. We've never had anything like this in human history. And it means that even tiny, subtle changes in our behavior, when multiplied by billions, can trigger massive societal shifts.
And we're already seeing those shifts pretty clearly. Sources point to things like a drop in the quality of face-to-face time, lost productivity because our attention is always shattered, and even trouble with deep focus. And then there's the big one, a documented rise in political polarization as the algorithms learn what angers us and just feed us more and more of it, trapping us in these echo chambers.
Okay, so after hearing all of that, it's easy to feel a little bleak. But what can we actually do about it? Well, the good news is that just being aware of how this all works is a huge first step, and there are clear, evidence-backed ways to start pushing back.
On a personal level, it really starts with taking back control. Just tracking your screen time can be a massive eye-opener. Turning off most of your notifications takes away that constant nagging pull. And the research is clear. Even taking a 1-week break can have a huge positive effect on your mental health. It's about being intentional, not just letting the algorithm decide where your attention goes.
But let's be real. Willpower alone is a tough ask when you're going up against a multi-trillion-dollar industry. That's why this has to be a two-pronged approach. We need our own personal strategies, sure, but we also need to push for bigger systemic changes. Things like more transparency from the platforms, better protections for kids, and designs that actually put our well-being ahead of just pure engagement.
So in the end, it all really boils down to that simple but really powerful question. These platforms can be amazing tools for connection, but finding that balance, protecting our own well-being in this digital world, it all starts with us consciously deciding who's really in control.